EGM Network.
Hey, welcome to our second podcast. Jesse and I are here today, live and in action, folks. And this is being brought to you by Sir Paladin LLC. And what Sir Paladin LLC does, we buy tax certificates and then we sell them in the secondary market, okay? And they're primary Florida tax certificates. But when Florida sells it to me, it's buyer beware. And if I were to sell you one, it's buyer beware. So you take the risk like I take the risk when I buy them. So anyway, Sir Paladin LLC, secondary market, Florida tax certificates. Hey, we had a little problem last time with Saturday Night Live that we were trying to put out. We got taken off the air, you know. They used artificial intelligence, and we got whacked really hard. Okay, but thanks to Jesse, he was on top of it, and he recovered nicely. And what was really neat about it is, Jesse told me, you do this, you might get blown off the air. And you know what I told Jesse? Let's do it anyway. My mistake, right?
Yeah, that's right. We'll take the copyright violation and we'll roll with it.
Okay,
that's
well,
right.
Jesse, I do want to thank you for getting us back on here quickly. So you were
Bill.
unbelievable.
Oh, thank you, Bill.
Absolutely. Hey, Saturday Night Live, Google, you guys, if you use Google, what I really wanted you to see is SNL, Google SNL, Tom Holman, YouTube. Okay, and that's effectively what I was going to try to broadcast for. I'm just going to do a little cut of it, like 30 seconds of it. But you can watch the whole thing. It's your introduction to Saturday Night Live. And actually, for a comedy show, it's pretty factual, right? So that's what we missed out on, and I feel really bad about it because I think the videos will do a lot better job explaining things to you than I will. But in any event, I got a great invitation from the folks here at Evergreen Media, right? They're really good folks. And guess what? They're having an open house online as well as here in the place, their office. What's the address here, Jesse?
Yeah, so the address here is 865 16th Place in Vero Beach. It's kind of tucked away in a neighborhood. That's where our studios are.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, we are having an open house on Thursday, February 26th at 3 p.m. Anybody can come in. If you've ever wanted to see what the podcast studio looks like, come on in. No pressure. It's free. We're going to have snacks. We're going to have drinks. So come tour the studio. Ask us questions. No strings attached. Thursday, February 26th here at Evergreen Media in Vero Beach.
I highly recommend it because when you see it, you sit down, you talk to these folks. I talked to a number of people before I decided on going with these guys here at Evergreen Media. And they're really nice people. And actually, I run into a lot of nice people in Florida, until we start talking politics or religion, and all of a sudden they're not so nice. But if you leave those two subjects out, they're really great. And these folks here have been absolutely fabulous. So
thanks, Bill. Appreciate that.
Well, no, it's true. Jesse, if you were crap, I tell you that. You know that, right? That's who I am. Anyway, I'm not sure if this is my lucky day. It happens to be a Friday the 13th, right? And here I am doing a broadcast of Friday the 13th. I can't believe it. You know when the very first broadcast, the first Friday the 13th occurred? It occurred on October 13th, 1307. And unfortunately, the Knights Templars became too powerful for King Philip and Pope Clemente. There was King Philip IV and Pope Clemente IV. 100 Knights of the Templar were arrested, tortured, and killed. Now, the guys that got away, they were smart. They went to the mountains in Switzerland, and they survived. And I figure today, that's why the Swiss speak French. Those guys left for France, and they ran all the way up to Switzerland. And that's what they do. And the funny thing about it is now they guard the Pope. And so you see all those guys out there surrounded with the Pope.
With the colorful outfits.
Yeah, there's the colorful outfits.
Yeah,
they're guarding the Pope. So anyway, they had a Grand Master that was basically the head of the Knights Templar, and unfortunately, he got burnt at a stake. But as legend goes, Jacques Demolay is the gentleman's name, I guess. Anyway, I guess he was burning at the stake. He gave hell to King Philip IV and Pope Clement IV. So he went down fighting, so to speak. And sometimes we all have to go down fighting, fight for our First Amendment rights. Remember that. It's very, very important. So anyway, kind of wrapped up stuff soon. The introduction here, I grew up in the 50s, when I'm like 10 years old or whatever. And there was a program on TV. It was called Superman, right? And one of my favorite programs. Do you know what was my favorite program about it? It would start off, Truth, Justice is the American Way. Really. There's only 3 channels, ABC, NBC, and CBS, right? Truth, Justice is the American Way. I really believe that, and I still believe it, but unfortunately, I'm not seeing too much of it today. And another 50s program that I'd like to model this program after was Dragnet. If you'd have to look that up. But there was a guy, Joe Friday, and he'd go out and be talking to people, and they start telling him, he said, no, just the facts. And that's what I'm trying to put out here, just facts. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a non-party affiliate. In the old days, we'd call it an American, but in Florida, you have to be a Republican if you want to vote in the primary. But other than that, that's who I am, okay? And we're going to go back to the real world now. And I think America deserves better than what we've been getting. Very clearly, America deserves better. Now, I'm trying to broadcast stuff, and let's take the hate out of politics. Now, when you see hate out of politics, I happened to be watching Pam Bondi the other day, which was yesterday, I believe. I think it was it the Senate yesterday? You familiar with the Senate or the House of Representatives? I forget.
I'm not sure which one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it was the House. But anyway, she was, it must have been the House. She was, it was unbelievable. You gotta cue this up, okay? If you want to see hate in politics, watch Pam Bondi. This is the Department of Justice of the United States. It's unbelievable what's going on in between Congress and the Department of Justice of the United States. And I must say, a week or 2 weeks ago, I did send an email to my Representative Mike, how do you say that last name, Jess?
Oh, Mike Herodopoulos.
Yeah, that's the guy, Mike Herodopoulos. See, I'm going to learn. I keep saying this. You're just teaching me well. Mike Herodopoulos. And I said he should move to impeach Pam Bondi. Okay? Yeah. Totally ineffective what she's doing. That whole Department of Justice, there is no justice in the Department of Justice. So we're trying to get hate out of it. Let's get rid of the haters, I guess, So I want to move on to just a recap last week's program. Kathleen, and I'm not going to say her last name, I almost said, Kathleen was on, and she demonstrated her exercise of her First Amendment rights in some marches and stuff like that. And she was quite a great contestant, quite a good personality to come on and describe what's going on in Minnesota. So she did a great job, and I want to really thank her very, 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 very much. First Amendment rights, okay, very, very important to us. Once you lose your First Amendment rights, I don't think you have anything, because you've already lost most of them anyway. Now, there's 2 people that, in my opinion, they were murdered by ICE people, right? And unfortunately, I don't think I've heard anybody been arrested for that. And that's a real tragedy. We got this guy, Tom Holman. Jesse, you got that little video thing that...
Yeah, we can play that.
Tom telling him about what's going on. Yeah. Because Tom, he's a really good guy once you get to know him.
I have proposed, and President Trump has concurred, that this surge operation conclude. A significant drawdown has already been underway this week and will continue to the next week. We have a lot of work to do across this country to remove public safety risk.
I don't think you can read.
Shouldn't be in this country.
I thought I was bad.
And to deliver on President Trump's promise for strong border security, mass deportation, law enforcement officers drawing down from this surge operation will either return to their duty stations or be assigned elsewhere to achieve just that.
So, yeah.
That was great, huh? Hey, just a couple of comments about Tom. If you look at that Saturday night video that I wanted to show you, that they clearly stated that the FBI has film or him taking a $50,000 bribe, right?
Yeah.
And then I think he took it in like a fast food bag, those little white things or something, in all likelihood. But, he could have made a mistake. He could have thought he was getting a double cheeseburger with some fries, with ketchup on the side or something, I mean, that's possible, right?
It happens.
And
All the time.
maybe he threw it, he's like me, he could have thrown it in the back of his car and forgot about it.
Yeah,
and it might still be sitting there for all we know, right? So, anyway, it would be nice if the FBI or the Department of Justice or whatever we call these guys now could get the $50,000 back, cash. I mean, that would be really good for us, it go somewhere. And then, anyway...
a little something for the taxpayers.
Yeah, that's something for the
refund. Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, Donald Trump and I agree on some things here. Fake news. Now, when Tom Homan comes up in front of anybody in a news organization, and now we're all owned by big corporations, right? Huge, billion-dollar corporations, right?
Yeah.
When he comes up and says something, why don't they ask him where's the 50,000? Maybe he got a receipt from, you could show him a receipt from the FBI. Hey, I turned this back in. I thought it was a double cheeseburger and some French fries. It was a mistake. They gave it to me. I'm sorry, but I'm an honest guy. I turned it back in. And this is the type of people we have that basically in being run in the executive branch.
Yeah.
So judge for yourself, but I'm not impressed. So anyway, coming up here. After the midterm, he's saying that all these guys are going away. They're going away. They're going away because there's an election coming up. They got to tone it down, and after the election, they're going to wind it back up. You can be sure of that. Now, President Trump has recommended to decrease the interest rates on credit card loans down to 10%, and I think it's great. And I think it should be hooked onto the Fed funds rate. Because basically that's where those guys go to borrow short-term money. Fed funds plus 5%, Fed funds plus 4%, whatever that is. It would be less than 10, but 10's a hell of a lot better than 22%, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Trump's proposal is only good for 1 year. Now, what's going to happen in the next year? We're going to have an election. Once the election's over, look out, the rate's going back up to 22%, 23, 24, whatever the try. When I was growing up in the 50s, if you get 25%, you were like working with an organized crime guy. He's giving you some money. If you don't pay him, you'll pay him or you're in trouble. So
pay with your kneecaps, right?
Pay with the kneecaps. There you go, Jesse. I couldn't say it better myself. So anyway, that's coming up, midterm ice, right? Another comment about the goal of this ICE organization, okay, is that it's like Vietnam. I grew up in the Vietnam area, and you came to find out, and I was in basic training and stuff like that. Never went to Nam, so lucky me. The generals were looking for head count. They wanted to know how many people could get killed. Okay. That's what they'll figure. If we could kill enough of these Vietnamese people, not Vietnamese, Viet Cong, not Vietnamese, then, we'll win the war. Now we're using the same method here. ICE is looking for a quota, a daily quota. They're looking to move people out. So that's why they're running around chasing people if they're dark skinned or whatever, and they want to know, do you got any idea or whatever? If not, they're banging doors down. Against the Constitution, you should have a search warrant going to somebody's house. They're banging doors down, pulling people out in their underwear, right? They don't even let them get dressed, for God's sakes, Run them down, drive them around for 3 hours. Oops, you're the wrong guy. We'll bring you back to your house. We knock the door down. You're on your own. Okay? A little fascist to me, if you know what I mean. So I consider these guys like brown shirt type people. And we mentioned that earlier, the brown shirt of the guys that run around in Germany that were tracking down all the Jews and killing them. So
yeah, Gestapo.
The Gestapo,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Brown shirts early on, and then Hitler knocked off the leader to become the Gestapo. Everyone in this organization should have facial biometric comparison technology done on them so they know exactly who they are, okay? Badge numbers with identifications. No masks. This is the United States of America. They don't need masks. Our cops that run around, our state troopers that run around, no masks. We don't. The FBI, no masks. Why these guys have to be masked? I don't know. I think they're doing bad things, maybe. Who knows, right? Name tag on clothing. You know, it'd be nice to know if somebody was getting abused, who abused you, right, by name. And no automatic weapons. I mean, this is like, we're supposed to be collecting people that are in the country illegally, you know, and that illegal thing bothers me in a way, because some of these people are in the process with the federal courts. I think the federal courts applying for, you know, the right to stay in the country. Mm-hmm. Now, if they're in that process, they should be protected from being pulled out until the court says, I'm sorry, you can't stay here. Then they must go. But we have to have a line between the courts are taking care of these people right now, and this person hasn't applied, they're here illegally, they must go. Okay? But, you know, waiting in courtrooms for somebody to walk out of a courtroom because they're in the process of applying for what do you call that? The ability to stay in the country, Jess?
Clemency?
Clemency or whatever. I'm not sure it's clemency.
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. So, you know, they're given a work permit or whatever. So anyway, yeah, that's what I look at. There's got to be a difference, and these basically brown shirt guys that, you know, currently running around on ice, abducting people and beating them up and spraying them with pepper spray, breaking down doors. This is not the America I grew up. Anyway, moving on, I contacted my representative, passed a message on to them. If you don't vote for these type of changes, okay, I'm not voting for you. Okay, these people should be properly identified, just like your police and your state, even the Army. You got your name on your shirt, you know. So the National Guard, there's a name on a shirt. We need to identify who's doing this. So if we accept some rogue officers, as they call them, then we can identify them and basically press charges on them for doing intolerable things. Coming up, I'm hoping to do a broadcast on billionaires, which I originally talked with Jesse when I first came in here. You know, billionaires legally get away with an awful lot. Yeah. Okay. So a podcast on billionaires, and I'm looking for a volunteer with accounting background, tax preparer, you know, background potentially, and I would like them to come on and say, if somebody gave $6 billion in highly appreciated paper stock to a nonprofit, what's their tax advantage and how long does it last? Now, I could do this myself, but I'll screw it up. So that's why I really want a tax professional to do this. This is generic terms. We're not picking on anybody, but generically, that would be good. And speaking of billions, I asked Jesse if he could help me out because, you know, we're hearing a billion a lot now, Jesse. You know, yeah. I mean, everything's done in billions. Millions are gone, right? Forget the millionaires, right? They're nothing now. You know, they're billionaires are what's count. Jesse, I'm going to talk about Jeff Bezos. Like, he has $225 billion according to Bloomberg as of October 1. So what would that look like? How would I explain that to somebody so they have a sense what a $256 billion or a billion looks like? Yeah,
50 billion. Yeah. So there's a visual representation
yeah.
if you're watching on YouTube.
Yeah.
But you know, verbally, to get a sense of how much bigger 1 billion is more than 1 million. 1 million seconds is about 11 days. 1 billion seconds is 31 and a half years. So that's the comparison between a billion and a million, and this guy's got $250 billion. That's amazing.
Could you go back to the first one you put up? Just that one there. Yeah, there you go. There's $1 million on the left, which you can't hardly see.
Right.
And it's what $1 billion looked like. I'll take that pile and do that 256 times.
Yeah.
And that's what Jeff Bezos has today. But, I don't begrudge Jeff Bezos having all that money. It does not a problem. It's not at all. Because he's a pretty generous guy when you come right down to it. He got divorced from Mackenzie Scott. Gave it $35 billion. Well, it was probably appreciated stock, but the settlement was $35 billion something, right? The value was in dollars, right? Then after getting divorced, Jeff decided to get married. He spent more than $45 million on his wedding in Europe, in Italy. Florence, I think, was the city he had it done in.
Didn't he close down the whole town?
Yeah, well, he bought out 4 or 5 hotels and stuff like that. It was a 3 or 4 day wedding, $45 billion,
Yeah.
So, I wish he spent it in America, but he decided to spend it in Europe. I guess he had it cost him more to convert the dollars to euros. Maybe they took dollars over there. I don't know. He might have struck a deal. He's really good at striking up deals.
Right. Yeah.
And then Mrs. Trump, he hired her, paid her $25 million. They did some filming for 20 days, and I guess they produced a documentary on it, I guess is what they call it.
Yeah, Melania. Yeah.
It's Melania, right? And then he spent another $35 million promoting that documentary. And that documentary, as it turned out the all-time record, most expensive documentary ever produced by anybody.
Is that
but
right?
Then, but if you've got $225 billion, then it's not a problem, right?
Right. Yeah.
And just as a sideline, he has a contract with NASA, and kind of NASA goes under the Trump organizations and whatever, and it's for $3.4 billion to basically launch rockets up to the moon and maybe out to Mars or something like that. $3.4 billion. So he's in pretty good shape, and I'm sure he doesn't want to offend anybody in the administration. So he's a smart guy. Got to give him credit. And he was I wanted to go to the President Trump's inauguration, being a registered Republican and everything, but I didn't get the invite.
No.
But Jeff did. Bezos did. He absolutely, and so I was hoping I got it, but I guess I get bumped by him. That's the way it goes, right? Now, on the other side of those nice things he did, he just laid off 300 Washington Post reporters. Now, I'm not a big fan of Washington Post, but on the other hand, I have to take a look at this and say, well, he owns the Washington Post, and he bought it, clearly, right? When he bought it, I thought he was going to just let it run by itself, but he's been through several iterations of it. And now the most important paper in Washington, D.C., to monitor what's ever going on in Congress and the executive office and the Supreme Court, basically is down 300 people. So they took a big hit, and it's really going to hurt. And my message to everybody out there, think about this for a second. Democracy dies in silence. Democracy will die in silence. So now we're gonna look ahead here a little bit, right? But we're gonna look back before we look ahead. Remember this guy Raffensperger? He had a phone call with the president. The president called him, I guess, right? He was thinking that maybe the 11,780 votes that they could find, right? But
in Georgia.
In Georgia, that's a play. Yeah. That's guy Raffensperger. Thanks, Jesse. You can help me on that. Okay. Yeah. And I watched that closely, and there was just no way that they could find it. They counted it once with the machine, then did a recount again, and then they counted every ballot by hand, and they still couldn't find 11,007. He was looking for 11,781, I think.
To tip the votes his way. Yeah.
Then when Rassenberger, he was a attorney general, I guess, of the state. He was subpoenaed to appear before the hearing on January 6th, and a comment he made talking about his conversations with the president, his president made the statement to him, he made this statement on the hearings, only need 11,000 votes. Give me a break. No, that's a pretty interesting way to phrase it, rather than, did you count everything right? No, I need 11,000. Go out and find it. And there's all kinds of things going on that could be termed as threatening. But when we talk about January 6th, the hero of January 6th, Mike Pence.
Mike Pence.
Mike Pence. Now, most people may not know that. That's my opinion. Mike Pence is the hero. Okay, these folks broke into the Senate, and they broke into the House of Representatives, and Mike Pence has the duty of overseeing the electoral count, process on that particular day, January 6th.
Yeah.
And they evacuated him, and they moved him down into the garage underneath the building. Mm. And the Secret Service says, Mike, get in the car. We're getting out of here. Mike, get in the car. I said, no, I ain't leaving. I ain't leaving. Because let's think, what if Mike Pence said, okay, I'm in the car. Let's get out of here. What might Donald Trump have done? You think he might have declared martial law? You think he might have dismissed Congress? Okay, because what was going on? Sent everybody home? Send in the National Guard to take over? That was the risk. Mike Pence stayed there, wouldn't get in the car, couldn't be driven away, and returned to finish the official count of the Electoral College. And we all know the Electoral College is a bunch of junk anyways. It basically, I've said it before, you Massachusetts vote Republican, you wasted your vote. California vote Democrat, Danny, you're wasting your vote out there. A Republican, rather, you're wasting your vote out there in California. So we really need popular vote for electing the president of the United States of America, which we don't have. Okay, so anyway, another thing happened recently. Fulton County, Department of Justice, is where the Pam Bondi, this national security agent lady, sent some folks in there to seize all the records and voting machines, and 360 boxes or something from 2020, right? I look at this could be a practice run. If things aren't going good, the president may just declare martial law and send people in to capture the votes so he can count them. If his folks can count them, he might win. So be aware of that. Your vote may be very, very important. And then they talk about nationalizing elections. I'm not actually sure what that means. States are supposed to run the elections, whether they run them poorly or not. They run the elections. I remember Donald Trump making a statement: "You'll never have to vote again." Yeah, maybe you won't. Or maybe if you vote again, it won't be counted anyways, right? And he wants the Republican Party to take over 12 states. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to skip over something here. We're kind of running short on time. Graham Planter, he's a Maine Senate candidate. Look him up. He's running against Collins in the Maine senatorial election. Collins is looking for her 5th term. These people get to be too old and they don't want to leave. My Democratic side of that is Feinstein, Dianne Feinstein. They had to wheel her in so she could vote. I mean, really, she had no idea what she was doing, but her vote counted, right? Until she left, so. And then they wouldn't replace him. The Republicans wouldn't replace him. She was a Democrat. We need term limits. Okay, so check Graham Planter's Maine Senate candidate. That's what he's for, term limits and a bunch of other things. So I'm going to invite him on the podcast. Maybe we'll get lucky, we'll get him. Who knows, right? And then the latest thing, and I'll try to run right through this for us. Penn Station at Dulles Airport, they want to be renamed to Trump Station.
Yeah, Trump
Airport.
Yeah.
He's holding up $16 billion, of funds that have been approved by Congress. and he wants the names to go on, and then he'll release the money. Now, if that doesn't sound like a mafia kind of thing, I'm not sure what does, so.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to quickly mention to you, a lot of brainwashing goes on with DJT. He doesn't like questions from reporters that he doesn't like to answer. Okay, when that happens, what agency do you work for? Oh, that's a badge agency. You guys are folks new. You'll hear, this is a hoax. Like global warming is a hoax. It's a hoax. Wind turbines kill birds. Like he cares about birds, right?
Right.
He was fighting against in Scotland about wind turbines going up in Scotland. He didn't like it because it detracted from the view of his golf course. Okay, that's why he hates wind turbines. And then he'll use the term, it's a witch hunt, right? Yeah. And they use the term, Biden didn't win the re-election. I don't know how long ago that was, man. That was 5 years ago or whatever. Biden didn't win the election. He's still singing that song, right?
Yeah.
Stolen. It's corrupt. You can't trust the people that are counting the votes. And just remember, going forward in the upcoming election, do you remember the people in Arizona beating on where they were counting the votes in one of those counties out there, beating on the windows, yelling, "Stop the count"? This is America. Stop the count. Everybody goes out to vote, right? Stop the count. Anyway, we got time for put something on Steve Bannon.
Sure. Okay.
Okay,
yeah.
that's great. Yeah.
All right.
And does he need a third term in order to see that job through?
Well, he's going to get a third term. So Trump 28. Trump is going to be president in 28, and people
Listen
just aren't
closely.
accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is. But there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28. We had longer odds in 16 and longer odds in 24 than we got in 28. And President Trump will be the president of the United States, and the country needs him to be president of the United States. We have to finish what we started. And the way we finish it through Trump. Trump is a vehicle. I know this will drive you guys crazy, but he's a vehicle of divine providence. He's an instrument. He's very imperfect. He's not churchy, not particularly religious, but he's an instrument of divine will. And you can tell this of how he's pulled this off. We need him for at least one more term, right? And he'll get that in 28.
Okay, I have nothing to add. That just scares me. Okay, that kind of talk scares me. Do we have another one, Jesse?
Yeah, we have another one here. Hold on here.
You're damn right. We're going to have ICE surround the polls come November. We're not going to sit here and allow you to steal the country again. And you can whine and cry and throw your toys out of the pram all you want, but we will never again allow an election to be stolen.
Elections being stolen is a brainwashing term. If they say it 1,000 times, you'll think, hey, they're stealing elections. It's brainwashing. The Republicans and the administration have been very, very good at brainwashing Americans. Do we have something? What other one, Jess?
That's all we got.
Okay, that's good. Martial law, okay, is a possibility in the upcoming election. Pam Bondi should be impeached. If Donald Trump won't get rid of her own, she should be impeached. You need to push out to your representatives and demand that they do stuff. And if they don't do the proper things, in your opinion, then you need to vote them out. That's the message. Vote them out. And as far as this broadcast goes, there's some things I'd like you to do. And Jesse, do you have that up there? Please forward the podcast.
Yeah. I was going to play that right before the credits.
Yeah,
but yeah, we could do that right
if
now.
you can.
Sure
I'm
thing.
running overtime here. I'll take less next time, Jesse.
There we go. All right. Yeah. So go ahead and forward that podcast to every contact you have.
Yeah.
The midterms election is critical to the survival of our country. The podcast should be treated as a chain letter. The messages in the podcast need to be viewed by millions of eyeballs. So let's get the ball rolling to restore dignity and respect in our country. Thank you.
Okay. My slogan is, as Americans, we deserve better.
Yeah.
And in this particular upcoming midterm election, your vote will count. And don't forget that. Very, very important to vote in the midterm election. And once again, I want to thank you. And going forward, I think next week, if Jesse allows me to come back, you never know, right?
Absolutely.
I want to do something on beautiful, clean coal. according to our president. Beautiful, clean coal. And once again, thank you, Jesse. You're absolutely fabulous. You do a super duper job.
Oh, thanks a lot, Bill. All right. Thanks for watching.
Okay.
Thanks for
so-
listening.